Hello, this is the SMC Journal podcast. I am Scott Moore, your host. Thank you for watching today. Normally, we are talking about software engineering in today's modern IT. However, we're doing a series of videos right now around hardware, mainly because I am taking you on the journey with me as I upgrade my own home lab. Many of you are geeks like me and you have your own home lab with your own servers and you're tinkering with stuff all the time. And I need stuff for demos, but I don't necessarily want to put everything in the cloud. So I am making some changes to my internal home lab to just bring it up a new notch, and I wanted to share that with you. These videos take a little bit longer for me to create just because the process of putting them together and recording everything that I'm doing. I've been wanting to share this with you for about 2 or 3 months now. So late last year, I decided to get really serious about storage on my network. A few years ago, I was probably doing the worst thing I could possibly do. I didn't have a 3-2-1 backup strategy. And if you're not familiar with that, it just means you need 3 copies of your data. 2 of them should be on-prem, wherever you're at, on 2 different hardware devices. So if one of them fails, and you also need a 3rd copy somewhere remote so that if something goes wrong with the site you're at, you can still get that data. So a couple of years ago, I was using a home-baked solution where I had sort of like a Raspberry Pi or an Odroid that was connected to a external USB hard drive, about 8 terabytes of data. So I had my physical hard drive with me, and then that was working as a network attached storage using Open Media Vault, which is not a bad solution for home users, and it worked fine for a while. However, at one point, somebody said, "Scott, you need to check out the Synology devices." Checked them out, and I actually bought my first Synology machine about 2.5 years ago. It was a DS916 or DS916 Plus. I had 4 drives in there, RAID 5. I didn't even really do a lot with it. I just connected it up, ran through the initial wizard, and started storing files on there. I didn't bond any network cards. I didn't do any special things to it, but it's worked fine for the last 2.5 years without a problem. I decided I need to look at Synology again and see what's out there, do some research, and find out if that's the way I should continue going with this. And I found out about the Synology 1823xs Plus. And for some, that might be a little overkill. For me, thinking in the future how long I might keep this, it turned out to be the way to go. So what I want to do in this video is show you as I unbox this, put this together, and initially set up the device. And I also want to share with you some of the research that I did before I started and how I made the decision that I did. There are about 4 channels on YouTube because, like you, I watch YouTube videos to learn stuff all the time. And I want to mention 4 different channels here. One of them is called NAS Compares, and there will be links in the description of this video for all of these. And so this is a person who does nothing but storage reviews like this all the time, does a great job. And he had a review of the 1823 XS Plus. Then I went over to Level 1 Techs. A lot of people know about Level 1 Techs. They had a setup of the 1823, and I thought that was very well done. And then I looked at Space Rex or Space Rex Will. He is always talking about Synology and the good, the bad, what you should choose. There was a particular one video out there called "What Synology Device Should You Buy in 2023?" And that kind of helped me, it led me to the 1823 XS Plus. And finally, if you want to go through some tutorials about how you set up stuff on Synology, the different applications, how you initially set up all of the different programs, setting up your backups, all of that. Now, SpaceRex has that, but also WonderTech tutorials. WonderTech is great. He's got a complete Synology NAS setup guide for 2023 for beginners, and it's an hour-and-a-half long video, and it's step by step. I could not do any better than that. So I just wanted to share what I was doing in my case and why I made the certain decisions that I did. And then you can do your own research, but these are some other good places to start. Uh, and they did a great job. Want to make sure that I mentioned that Synology did not send me any of this. There was no hardware that was not purchased with my own funds to upgrade my own home lab. Nobody is saying anything about what I can put in this video as far as my review. Just wanted to clarify that this was a purchase that I made with my own money. So what I'm going to do now is let's go to the lab and start setting this thing up. And then I'll see you back on the other side when we set up the software. All right, so I decided to do a couple of upgrades on this. Even though it does have RAM in this, I decided to upgrade the RAM, and you'll see the type of RAM that I bought and the amount that I'm upgrading to on your screen. I also decided to get the Synology NVMe drives, and these are going to be used for a pool for caching, and I'm going to set that up after the fact. I also am going to add a PCIe card that is the Synology 10 gig card. I could have got the 25 gig card, but for my use, it would be a little bit of an overkill. So I'm just going to create a bond with multiple network cards and just try to get the maximum flow in my internal network. I'm going to max out all of the drive space with 8 14 terabyte drives, and these are the Iron Wolf drives from Seagate. And I did some research on these drives, and a lot of people are using these with this NAS, and they have nothing but good things to say about them. They're fairly reliable. I will be using this as a RAID 6, so I get 2 drives that can fail before I run out of redundancy there. Instead, I started to go with RAID 5, but after viewing some of the videos that I'm putting in the description there, I decided to go with RAID 6. All right, so let's unbox this thing. This is actually the first time that I'm looking at this myself. This is what you get when you open it up. It is fairly well packaged. All right, so we've got our power cables, we've got some Ethernet cables, and we've got some screws. My understanding is because we're using the 3.5-inch drives that we are not going to need these screws. You probably don't need these if you do the 2.5. So we're going to go ahead and take this out, and we get our handy dandy instruction guide, which nobody who's cool reads, right? And then we're going to take out the actual unit itself. It is packaged very well, and I must say that shipping was done very well. So, one of the first things that you're going to see on the back of this is you're going to see that you have multiple Ethernet connectors. This is going to be the slot where we put the PCI X card, and then you've got 2 USB slots here, and then you've got your RAM upgrade on the bottom, which we will have to open up the bottom to see this, which I'll show you next. We've got our power connector as well. And then we have our 8 drive slots here, which we can just easily pop out, and we'll put our drives in. So I think the first thing that I really want to do is go ahead and put my upgrades in. And we will start with the RAM, since that's probably the thing I have to do the most work on to take this off. So the cool thing is that it's really easy to do this, even if you're not real handy with parts and things like that. All you really have to do is pop this out. All right, and then we're just going to replace that. You just want to make sure that you've got the notches in the right place. It's pretty easy to do it. It's only going to go in there one way. Push it down. All right, now we've upgraded our RAM. Now we're going to slide this back and put the screws back in. And this should be about all we have to do with a screwdriver. You can really get overkill with this, especially if you don't have big 10 gig, 25 gig networks, and you're not really going to be pushing the speed that much. But also, as a performance engineer and just as a geek, I like to kind of go a little bit above and overboard on stuff because I want to keep stuff a little longer, and I want to be able to upgrade other components around it eventually. So that's the reason why I made some of the choices that I did. I could have even got bigger hard drives, but I tried to think about the overall cost. This was actually for me, it was a very expensive unit to put together, but I'm thinking that this is going to last me a minimum of 5 years. I may be wrong about that because things change so fast and storage requirements go up so fast, but I think it's pretty safe to say I'm going to be keeping this for 5 years when I kept my other one for 3 years and I didn't max it out. And I've only got 5, 6 terabytes being used right now. So now the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to install the PCIe card. This is really the only time I think that you have to open up the box, that you have to actually open up the chassis. And I'm going to face it in a way, I think that will show up here how I'm going to take this out and remove it. So one thing I did want to mention that I don't think anybody else mentions to you if you're like not used to taking some of this stuff apart, you're going to see all these screws here on the back, but the only screws that you need to do are the ones that are around the top and side rims. If you try to do the other ones, they're a lot harder to get out. So if you're struggling with that, don't struggle with it. It's probably the wrong one. These come out very easily on the rim of this. Once you've done these are it looks like about 6 screws, six small screws. Then you can just uh, pull out on it. Should be able to see that. Okay, so the card is on that side. I want to say it's the right side, but it's whatever side you're looking at. And you can see that there is a slot here, and I will have close-up pictures of that. And we're just going to put that PCI card in that slot. When you are trying to put this PCIX in, there's a little screw back behind here, which I'll take a picture of. There's also a screw in the front to this little plastic, safety plate cover thing that they have. Once you take those out, then you can take that like that. You can pop out that piece, and now you have a clear slot there. All right, so now what we're going to do, we've got the internet card. I've already kind of taken it out of its packaging, and all we're going to do is make it available. So we're going to put it into the slot. There's only one way that it's going to be able to go in there, and it's going to be right on the very edge. Now what we're going to have to do is make sure that it is secured in there. So we're going to have to put this cover thing back over here to keep it in there. So we're going to have to put both of these screws back on. And so as you can see, we've got it in there. We've got the screws in place and it's there. Show it to you from there. We now have this in and we're ready to put the cover back on. So that's also a pretty boring thing, but put this back on and just. So did I need that extra 10 gig PCI card in there? Probably not. Probably a little bit overkill for what I need, but it's okay. That's one of those things where you get to decide as the consumer that that's what you want to do. And even if it's more than what you need, sometimes that's just okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have them in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to install the NVMe 2.0, whatever they're called, Synology drives for the actual caching. I decided to go with the 400 Gs, right? These are 400 gigabyte cards. Some people go with 1 terabyte cards. From the research I did, I actually think these might even be overkill. You kind of want to get the smallest amount that you can, but I figured this was a good medium. I don't know that I'll be using all of this. We're going to see what happens with this and see how much it speeds everything up. But you'll probably notice that it reserves a lot of space on these because there is a lot of wear on them. So the size that you'll see inside the NAS will be a little bit smaller, and these are pretty easy to unbox, open them up. So what I've done is I've taken out all of the plastic holders for the drives internally, and just because I just wanted to show you, in here in the side is where these M.2 drives are going to be installed. They sit in there, so if you open this up, it's very easy to take them off. I'm going to show close-ups of this. It's going to be right in there. So we're going to take these and we're going to put these into the side here. And there, again, there's only one way that they go in. I've got a close-up picture that I'm going to be showing up here. In the bottom of the NAS matches where these in slots are. So it's going to be this direction, and you're basically going to put it in there and make a connection to it. And then you are going to you're going to have it at an angle, and you're going to push down on it. And you pop it in there, and it goes in there nice and neatly. So now we are ready for the next phase of this, which is putting our drives into all of these slots. And these little plastic, there's no tools. This is what's so cool about using the larger drives. These things just basically pop in, push them, they release. So now all we have to do is put a drive in there. Let me show you this from the front. Just, I mean, you can't get any easier than that. Synology made it real easy for everybody. So what I'm going to do is you take these little plastic pieces off from the back, just kind of pull on the bottom end of it, and it comes right off. And then we're just going to take one of these Seagate Iron Wolf 14 terabyte drives, and we're going to put it in. So all you got to do is just pull off the bottoms, pull from the bottom, pulls right off. Just the back of the drive goes into the front of the unit. Just go from the top. Just slide it in from the top like that. Don't slide it in because there's these little rubber things, feet that are on the side here, and you don't want those to come out. Ask me how I know. Then you just line back up these plastic pieces, and they should snap right into where those rubber piece holes are at right there. Same thing here. Just align them. Now your drive is in there. So what's going to happen is this is going to go into the back of the unit, and you always know that that is the bottom. So now all we have to do is just slide that in like that. And now our drive is connected in. Okay. So I'm going to repeat this for all of the drives and put them in. Okay, so now I've done that for all of the drives, and I'm ready to put the last one in. One thing I do want to note, and I've never seen anybody talk about this on a video, is that there are these little rubber pieces that are behind these plastic flaps that go on the side here. And if you do something weird with the drive, sliding it around in here, these little, I don't know if you call them grommets or whatever, they will fall out and you will have to put them back in. They're little pads that keep the suspension of the drive in there and keep it from, so it's snug, right? But it's like a cushion as well. So those come out, you might have a little bit of a hard time putting them back in. Just make sure you get them lined back up there and stick them in. I've just never heard anybody talk about that before. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to put the last one in to the bottom here. Now we've got all of our slots full, and we are ready to begin to hook this thing up. We are going to hook our power up, and then we're going to connect our network cards up, and we're going to set up everything in the software. All right, so we're on the software side of the Synology NAS, and we have turned it on, booted it up, got an IP, and connected to it through the web. And we are installing Disk Station Manager right now. This is going to set up all of our hard drives. I have greatly sped up this process so that we can get through this in a short period of time. So We're going to configure the main pool as RAID 6. Remember, we have a fault tolerance of 2 drives that can go bad. And that's going to mean less disk space, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and add all of the hard drives to the storage pool. 76.3 terabytes, close enough to 80 terabytes for me. All right, so we've got our main volume, and we're going to do that with Btrfs, I guess it's called. And we're not going to do encryption, and we're going to leave everything else default, confirm the settings. And yes, we know that it's going to be erased the very first time, but that's okay. So this sets up the main pool, and if everything goes well, we should just see that we have a healthy system. We will get a couple of notifications. One thing you will notice is that when we look at the hard drives, we will see what looks to be errors. It just means that these drives are unverified. They're not Synology drives. They're not on that main list. That's okay. We know that they work, but they will be formatted together as one big giant volume. Now we got to deal with the M.2 drives, and we're going to configure that caching. So we've got those are showing healthy because those are Synology drives. So let's create the cache. So one of the things you'll notice that I did here is I configured this for read write cache, and later on I came back and changed that to read only. I didn't need read write because I'm not writing a bunch of files all the time, like a lot of little files. I just every day I'm adding some files to it, but it's not a constant thing. So if you were doing something like database read and write, something very constant, you probably want the read write. One of the things about that is that if you have to take down the machine and take out something, take out those M.2 drives, you'll have to do a process to take all of that cache and move it to the other hard drive so that you can take those out before you take it out. Otherwise, you could lose data, and we don't want to do that. So we've got those in there, and they are healthy and ready to go. So we've got our caching, we've got our main volume. Everything is working great. So there's a couple of the things that we want to do. Once the storage pool is optimized, there are lots of applications that you're going to want to and probably install. But before we do that, we want to actually create some folders here where we can start putting some files. There's plenty of other channels that'll show you how to install all kinds of programs on here, and I'm mentioning those in this description of this video. But for right now, we're just going to create our first folder here. We called it audio. I always enable the data checksum. That's something I personally want to do, but I don't need to encrypt this. And we're going to create the audio folder now. I'm going to give read write access for admins and a user that I created called Scott. And I then created all the other folders that I want for this. I also go through all of my file services and turn on what I want, like SMB, NFS. If I wanted to do rsync or FTP, this is where you would set all of these. Again, there's plenty of tutorials online. We'll show you how to go into depth with this. But one of the things I do want to do is enable time machine sharing because I use Apple products and I want to back up all these Apple products to this NAS device. So I created a special folder just for time machine. We need to enable that in the file services. I do set a shared folder quota for this. When it goes over 10 terabytes, I kind of want to know when that is the case. But I'm going to create a special user and group just for Proxmox because I want Proxmox to be able to back up itself to the NAS, all of my virtual machines and all of my containers. So I'm creating a user for that, giving it access just to the Proxmox folder. That way, if somebody happens to get on my Proxmox machine, they can't really get on the NAS and do anything else with that Proxmox user. They have to have admin or Scott and able to do anything. So I'm going to set up SMB on this so that it can transfer those files over. Everything else is going to be default. So I've got a user called Proxmox user, and I'm going to create a group as well called Proxmox and put that user into the Proxmox user into the Proxmox group. So I have a group name called Proxmox. And we're going to select one member, which is Proxmox user, and give it access to the Proxmox directory. You don't have to do this. This is just something I personally like to do to lock down Proxmox because there's a lot of activity and a lot of files being transferred from that specific machine. And I separate that machine out as part of my lab. And remember, this whole series of videos is about how I'm upgrading my lab. We're going to apply the password strength rules as far as that's pretty much just the default for all these settings you're viewing right now. The last thing I want to show you is the link aggregation and combining these LANs. Now, for this video, I only had 2 LAN connections put in place at the time. I have since added more. I actually have now 4, but this is what it looks like when you actually combine 2 LAN connections and bond them as one. They become one IP address. So I'm using both gigabit network cards on here at the same time. It gives me an IP address as for one of those. So you'll see I have LAN 3 and LAN 4 that I can still add. And one of those was a 10 gig network card. Something else I also want to mention about bonding the network cards is that even if you have that 10 gig network card, you may show only 1 gig on the display of the NAS. And I'll show a print screen here of what I saw. And I asked Synology about that, and they said that it's going to display what you're limited to on your network, what you're capable of negotiating the speed as. So that means that even if you have a 10 gig network card, it may be limited to a gig of traffic. And on my network, that actually is the case. So once you have the capabilities of 10 gig network speeds and you can negotiate that, it will show up as a 10 gig network card on the NAS. And so now we've got a NAS server all set up and running. My NAS drive has been working great. I've been using it for over 6 weeks now without any kind of problems. And so I've actually done some more work on it since then. And that's going to be what the next video is going to be about that I release. And it's about adding that from that 3-2-1 strategy, the second device that you copy to. If you watch the video on level 1 techs, you'll see where he mentions it's about 8 minutes and 15 seconds into that video, he mentions the thermal tape or the thermal material for if you're going to run an M.2 drive that's not Synology, that runs a little hotter like a Samsung, you might want to put some of that thermal compound between the surface of the Synology device and the drive. I tried to do that. I actually ordered that, even though I had the Synology drives and they didn't run as hot. I wanted to show doing that, but it was too thick. I thought I ordered the right thickness. I even cut it in half. I could not get it to work without the drive popping out. But because I knew I was safe with the Synology and there is enough airflow, and even he talks about it on level 1, there's enough airflow that you really don't have to worry about it, especially if you're using the Synology drive. So I recommend the Synology M.2 drives if you're going to do the caching. Also wanted to mention that I now have all of the network cards utilized and bonded. I started off with 2, which you probably saw in the video when I was setting up the network, but uh, I'm not really getting the kind of bandwidth that you would think that I would, mainly because there's a restriction on 2 different sides. There's restrictions on one side that keeps me at gigabit, and that's only about 125 max megs across the network. I'm only getting about 115. Even though I'm using all 4 of the network connections on there, there are limitations at other links in my network, and I don't have a 10 gig network. So just keep that in mind, that just because you have that 10 gig card and you have 2 or 3 other LAN connections on there that are all gig, it's going to be good to get those files in fast at the device, but you're still going to run into bottlenecks on all sides if you don't have like 10 gig everywhere. but this allows me to upgrade to that. And that's the main point here. We will have to, at some point, deal with the offsite backup as well. And I didn't choose the most obvious format for that. And so I can't wait to share that video with you as well. I hope you like this content. I hope you've learned something. I hope I added something that the other videos did not. If you like this, it would be great to hear from you about that. It would be great if you liked this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that right now or scan that QR code. It would be great to have you as a subscriber to the channel. You can also contact me various ways. I'm mostly on LinkedIn these days, so that's the best place to find me, but you can also just send me an email at heyscott@smcjournal.com, and would love to hear your feedback as well, or just leave me a comment down there on this video. So on our next episode, we'll continue down the road of installing more hardware and making the home lab even better. And until that time, this is Scott Moore thanking you for watching again. We'll see you. Bye-bye.